Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to be talking about a lot of news that has been happening over the past 2 weeks. There has been a lot of developments in the AI space and a lot of things that have been released over the past 2 weeks. Last week was actually my spring break, so I did pre-record a video and apparently everyone got the memo that I was on spring break and decided to release everything pretty much on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of last week. And that didn't really stop over the next few days, and even into this week there has been announcement after announcement. And so I'm going to try to compile everything that has happened, at least notable things. There's so many great startups that are making amazing AI experiences, but I'm going to be talking about the bigger companies making moves, and maybe in the future video I'll talk about some of the smaller companies as well. But today's video is going to be focusing on the big news, a lot of things that you can actually try out today, and I did get access to some of these. I might dive more in depth in a future video for each of these, but today's just going to introduce each one of them really quickly. And hopefully I'll be able to do that in a time efficient manner, but there's just so many different things. Depending on what you're interested in, I will have timestamps down below, and you can skip to the section that you're interested in. And of course, as always, the sources are below, and you can go to those links to sign up for a lot of these waitlists. So let's get started. The first news is obviously from OpenAI, and they announced GPT-4, which is not only the next iteration of GPT-3, which powers ChatGPT and so many of these AI models and AI applications that are out there. GPT-4 is sort of the next iteration of that. It has a bigger context window. It used to have 4,096 tokens, now up to 8,000 and 32,000. That just means you can give GPT more text, more context for it to understand. And it also has a multimodal component, which basically not only does it deal with text, it also deals with images. Let me show you this quick introduction video.
GPT-4 is the latest AI system from OpenAI, the lab that created Dalai and ChatGPT. GPT-4 is a breakthrough in problem-solving capabilities. For example, you can ask it how you would clean the inside of a tank filled with piranhas, and it'll give you something useful. It can also read, analyze, or generate up to 25,000 words of text. It can write code in all major programming languages. And it understands images as input and can reason with them in sophisticated ways. Most importantly, after we created GPT-4, we spent months making it safer and more aligned with how you want to use it. The methods we've developed to continuously improve GPT-4 will help us as we work towards AI systems that will empower us all.
So yeah, that's a quick summary. Basically what I said. It also deals with images, and from my personal testing, it generally generates longer content and more a richer experience, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but it does the task that you ask it to do slightly better than GPT-3. But obviously, it's not leaps and bounds better. It feels leaps and bounds better, but there's still a lot of limitations to these generative models, specifically with, the fact that it's trained on data up to a certain date, so it doesn't have the latest data, and a lot of times it hallucinates information. So it's very good at creating text, but it's not very good at sort of lookup text, which is the same thing as GPT-3. And this is summarized by Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. He basically said that it is still flawed, still limited, and it seems more impressive on first use than it does after you spend more time with it. And you can try GPT-4 right now through ChatGPT Plus, which is the $20 a month subscription to ChatGPT. It basically gets rid of downtimes and it gives you credits to use GPT-4. Right now, I think they're on 25 messages per 3 hours. So they've been playing around with that limit. You can also play with GPT-4 through Poe.com, which I talked about earlier in an earlier video. Basically, you can use GPT-4. They give you 1 free credit per day, but you can pay for their Plus plan, also $20, and you can have access to ChatGPT Plus. GPT-4 as well. They also released the API. It's a wait list. I didn't get access to it yet, but it does seem much more expensive. It is about 30 times more expensive, 15 to 30 times more expensive than the existing GPT-3 Turbo, the ChatGPT model. So I don't think I'm going to be using that right now. Hopefully they'll either bring the cost down a little bit or, or just make a cheaper model rather than such a large model that costs this much. And of course, with the multimodal part of this model, there is only one organization that I think has access to it right now. Even if you have ChatGPT Plus or the GPT-4 APIs, you can't use that images part of it. And the organization is Be My Eyes. And what they're doing is basically using GPT-4 to analyze the environment of using your phone camera. It'll take a picture of what's happening around it and describe it to people, and it will help people who have vision impairments or even just anyone who has questions about their surroundings. Let's just say you see something that you don't know, you can probably ask it, what does it do? Bing also confirmed that the Bing Search AI, Bing Chat AI, does use GPT-4. I've not used Bing Chat AI that much in the recent days, but it feels pretty much the same. It probably does make slightly better answers, but basically the GPT-4 just seems like a more refined version of GPT-3. It does seem to run a bit longer, particularly if you run on Poe. It makes a longer and a better formed answer than GPT-3, but it just does pretty much the same thing. So it does the same thing, kind of, but for a lot more money. Moving on to the next thing is Google. Google had to jump back into the ring after being sort of not doing a lot of things and Microsoft making a lot of moves. They announced AI in Google Workspace. And what that means is they're bringing AI to Gmail, Docs, and to other parts in the future. And here's the intro video for that. Let's watch that. that is Google Workspace with AI. And as you can see, it's basically Docs and Gmail and slides and sheets and all of that, having AI be able to generate content for you. And that is pretty cool. And that is exactly what these large language models do best, is the ability to sort of generate text, summarize text, and generate content. So I'm very excited about this. I haven't gotten access to this, but they are rolling this out gradually to Google Workspaces. So that's basically, I think, more or less like people who use G Suite. But hopefully they roll it out to regular users as well soon. But they will definitely be rolling this out slowly to more and more users. Google also announced the Palm API and MakerSuite, basically another API to access Google's version of large language models, kind of like the GPT-3 API. And this allows people to use Google's APIs and use the large language models. Following this, another company also released their API, which I've been waiting for a long time, and that is Anthropic. Anthropic released their Claude API, and for the first time, you can request access. It is a waitlist program, and I'm on the waitlist, but you can request access to use Claude through API. So Claude is basically like ChatGPT. You can use it. Currently, I've been using it on Poe, and you can use that on Poe. In fact, Poe has both the base Claude version and also Claude Plus, which is the more improved version. And similar to GPT-4, you can only use Claude Plus once a day, but you can subscribe to the Poe.com paid subscription, and you get 1,000 messages, I believe, a month. But basically, Claude made their APIs accessible, and yeah, Poe, you can use it through Poe, and it's pretty cool. From what I see in the pricing, Claude is on par or could be slightly more expensive than ChatGPT API, the base 3.5 turbo model. But Claude does things differently. They break it up into the prompt tokens and the actual generated tokens. So it'd be interesting when I get access to Claude APIs, how much more it would cost, and sort of I'm interested in using it in tandem with my ChatGPT bot to see which one I end up using more often. All right, after Anthropic announced something, the next group of people to announce things is Midjourney. And Midjourney announced their version 5 AI model, and it's able to create even more photorealistic images, and in fact, 5-fingered hands. So if you didn't know, generative AIs have been really bad at generating hands, and I think that's the number one way to figure out whether or not something's AI art or if it's real art. It's a really easy indicator is if you see someone with like 6 fingers, 7 fingers, or like really badly shaped hands or blurred hands. Usually that's an indication of AI art. But as you can see, this is version 5. It's a very photorealistic, very nice generation. And they've got things like pretty much perfect hands, at least how artists or photos would look like. So it's really, really cool that Midjourney released version 5, and I tried this with this prompt, an image of a guy in space with a blowtorch. And this is the stuff it gave me, and I thought it was pretty nicely generated. And you can see this astronaut does have 5 fingers. And most of these hands look great, and the image itself just looks fantastic. All right, moving on to the next thing. It's Microsoft back in the news cycle, and they announced this 2 days after Google announced their AI for Google Docs and Gmail, they announced their version of Copilot, which is kind of like the AI helper. Currently, GitHub Copilot is what's released, and it basically helps you with code. Copilot for Microsoft 365 basically just is what Google announced. It generates stuff in Excel, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, those things, and it helps you with work. And here's a quick video of their introduction. So yeah, Microsoft 360 Copilot is very similar to what Google announced. They both have similar visions of how AI can help. I think this one had more examples of pulling across apps, so you can reference other documents, PowerPoints, emails and stuff in different applications, and it's able to do generative AI stuff. But basically, Microsoft and Google have announced similar things, and they're also rolling this out. I don't think I have access to this right now, but I'm interested in trying this out as well. And overall, just it'd be interesting to see how well this can do, if it's able to do all these prompts that it said it can do. And I think a lot of this can be helpful, making a PowerPoint, or I think even getting a transcription of a meeting and then asking questions about that meeting. That would be very helpful for people who either weren't at the meeting, or you want to get a summary just to jog your memory. It would be very good for that. All right, the next thing is Dalai Alpaca. So I talked about Alpaca, and I think mostly the Llama models, which is Facebook's version of large language models. They released their large language models, and the weights got leaked, and people have been doing amazing things with it. Obviously, Llama is an open source model. The code to run it is open source, so people have been looking for ways to not only quantize the weights, basically shrink down the weights by reducing. So right now it uses things like floating point numbers, which are stored in, I think, with more bits, and then they quantize it down to integers, which basically removes the decimal point, and then they make it take up less space by using less bits to represent those weights. And it's kind of magical, because I can't really think of a way to do it very well. Basically, they're able to shrink down and get the information to a smaller size, to the point where you can run these on consumer hardware. The smallest model, 7 billion, only takes about 4 gigabytes. As you can see, 4.2 gigabytes of video memory, and a lot of video cards from Nvidia, from AMD, and even the MacBook Air M1 has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So you're able to run these models on a lot of hardware. Obviously, it still requires dedicated hardware except for Macs, because Macs use unified memory. And at least on the M1 and M2 Macs, it uses unified memory. So you're able to run these models on a Mac really easily. And what Dalai Alpaca does and Dalai Llama does is it makes it super easy to run these models on your own computer. All you have to do is run these 3 commands: Dalai Alpaca install 7 billion, npx Dalai Llama install 7b, and npx Dalai serve. So after running these 3 commands, you can run this on any computer. I believe it works for Windows. I tried it on my Mac and it worked perfectly. And I also tried it on, I did not try it on Linux, but I am pretty sure it works there as well. As long as you have Node installed, that's the prerequisite. And Dalai also dropped a new update today, actually, and it basically adds prompt templates. So I was playing around with Dalai Alpaca, and it seemed kind of okay because I didn't have any prompting. So what it was doing was basically text completion. But what prompt templates does is it's kind of like what ChatGPT is using and Bing Chat AI is using. It's the prompt engineering part of things. It basically makes the AI do things that you want it to do. And it also has the 30 billion parameter Alpaca. So previously there's only the 7 billion one available. Now you have a larger model that you can run. So that'd be interesting for me to try out. So if you're interested in running this and you have either a graphics card with more than 4 gigabytes of video RAM memory or an M1, M2 MacBook, even the MacBook Airs, you can try this out today, right now, and just run it, and it's pretty cool. All right, the next group of people that announced things is Runway. And if you don't know about Runway, they were partners in creating Stable Diffusion, the model that basically generates images but is open source. It's an open source image generation, a diffusion model. And I talked about this in my AI art episode, a little bit about Stable Diffusion. But what Runway's whole thing is they wanted to make basically images to videos. So you can have an image and have a driving video, and it would match that image with the actions of a different video. And what they announced today is Gen 2, well, not today, March 20th, is Gen 2. And you're basically able to do that same thing, but you don't need a driving video anymore. You just need text. So it is full text to video. And let's watch the introduction video.
Not too long ago, Runway pushed the boundaries of generative AI with Gen 1, a video-to-video model that allows you to use words and images to generate new videos out of existing ones. In the weeks since launching, the model has constantly gotten better. Better temporal consistency, better fidelity, better results. And as more and more people gained access, we unlocked entirely new use cases and displays of creativity. And today, we're excited to announce our biggest unlock yet: text to video with Gen 2. Now you can generate a video with nothing but words. No driving video, no input image. Gen 2 represents yet another major research milestone and another monumental step forward for generative AI. With Gen 2, anyone, anywhere can suddenly realize entire worlds, animations, stories, anything you can imagine. Gen 2, coming very soon to runwayml.com.
So yeah, that is Gen 2, basically a text to video model. And before, when we talked about AI art, it's mostly text to image, and Runway was working on video to video or image to video, and now they got it just from text to video. So it's very interesting, and you can try this out at Runway ML. I don't think it's out just yet, but they are going to be releasing it on their website. And I know there have been models that people are working on using Stable Diffusion, the open source version of the model, to do the same thing, text to video. So it'd be very interesting to watch the space, and I might make a video on this later when there are more, when I can experiment with Runway and experiment with other models. All right, the next piece of news is slightly interesting. So OpenAI basically discontinued Codex, which is the code-tuned version of GPT-3. So it's able to generate code. And they basically said GPT 3.5 outperforms Codex and GPT-4 does even better. So there's no point of using Codex API. And they were offering Codex as a free limited beta, and they basically don't want to support this anymore. And a lot of people came out and said that's not a good decision. A lot of people loved using Codex, and a lot of things run off of Codex. And I think Copilot, they probably transitioned off of it by now, but it used to run on a fine-tuned version of Codex as well. And OpenAI basically went back and said, hey, if you're still interested and you have a research use case, because a lot of researchers are doing research on Codex, you can apply to still use it through the research program. And that's pretty cool. And in terms of Codex, it definitely is sort of another state-of-the-art baseline for a lot of research papers. I've been reading some research papers in a class, and a lot of those research papers use Codex as a baseline. So it's definitely very important for it to keep going, at least in a research context. But definitely in terms of users using it, I think it's like OpenAI said, GPT 3.5 Turbo does a way better job, and GPT-4 will continue improving on that leap. So they don't need to continue using Codex anymore. All right, Google's back in the news again. And I think yesterday they announced the waitlist for Bard. And basically, Bard is the competitor to ChatGPT and kind of Bing Chat AI. And basically, it uses Google's own large language model to answer questions and in a chat style behavior, kind of like ChatGPT and Bing Chat AI. And you can join the waitlist for Bard right now at bard.google.com. And I got access actually basically 7 or 8 hours after I joined the waitlist, but I don't know how far back the waitlist is now. But they're basically slowly rolling it out to people. And as you can see, it looks kind of like ChatGPT, and you can ask it similar questions. And there's a reset chat button. So there isn't any sort of chat memory support similar to Bing Chat AI. So unlike ChatGPT, which you have a list of what you talked with the AI bot before, both Bing Chat and Bard do not have that remembering what you talked with the bot before, the context. But the Bard does work. It works pretty well, but I think we've been spoiled so much by ChatGPT and Bing Chat AI that I honestly was slightly underwhelmed by Bard. I think it does have slightly more updated information. I think it's getting information from January and February of 2023. There really isn't, at least from what I can see, any specific date of when the information cutoff is. And I don't know if Bard searches Google or pulls from Google, but it definitely does have more recent information than ChatGPT, although I don't think it has the specific ability. It doesn't at least show that it's searching on Google, unlike Bing Chat AI. Bing Chat AI basically just shows you that it's querying for different things on Bing and then gives you the answer. So I'm interested in knowing what information sources that Bard gets, but it's basically like ChatGPT, but to me, ChatGPT is still a little bit better and a little bit nicer to use, at least to me. Okay, Microsoft also jumped back in. I think yesterday they also announced this, the image creator. And unlike Bing Chat AI, which is on waitlist, I believe this one is available for everyone right now. And you just go to bing.com/create, and it's basically like Stable Diffusion and Midjourney, but you can create images with with a prompt. And it's another AI art, and it's completely free right now. And I think and the results are pretty good. And here's the results from the prompt I used earlier, which is an image of a guy in space with a blowtorch. And you can see these results are pretty good. Of course, this still has issues with text, as all generative AIs do, but it's pretty interesting, and you can use this for free. Adobe also announced stuff. They announced Adobe Firefly, and it basically is kind of like Copilot for Microsoft and Google's AI for their Docs and Gmail. And this is basically that in Adobe products. So as you can see, you can generate images and you can do things like this. You can select a lighthouse and generate similar looking things and replace it in Photoshop right away. And you can generate an additional parts of the image and put it into to your Photoshop image. So that's pretty cool. There's also this thing called vectorize. So basically you can select something and say, hey, make this, select a sketch specifically, make this into a vector, and it will make it into a SVG or other things that you can easily turn things from sketch to actual better made, fully made graphics. They also have AI-based video editing, so you can change the condition of the video, which is kind of interesting. You can change the scene to winter instead of from summer. And also things like generating posters and generating 3D models. So yeah, this is the new Adobe sort of Copilot that they're doing, and it's very interesting and very cool that they're also stepping into to generative AI. And finally, well, not finally, second to finally, Nvidia also announced things, specifically large language models for life sciences, and they're doing things like proteins and genes and drug discovery, using AIs for that. And this news wasn't really covered by a lot of people. It just shows how much things have been coming out every single day. This also came out yesterday on March 21st, which is where Google Bard waitlist came out and the image creator came out. And there's just been so many things that are happening, especially, and Nvidia is profiting very much off of this AI craze, because they make a majority of these AI cards, AI acceleration cards, GPUs, and things like that. And you can see that Nvidia partnered with Google Cloud for a new generative AI platform, partnered with Shutterstock to build other generative models for 3D artists. Adobe and Nvidia partnered probably for their Adobe Firefly, and AWS and Nvidia collaborate on next generation infrastructure. So you can see Nvidia is partnering with Google Cloud and AWS, so they're really sort of profiting and getting a bit of business from every single person in the AI space, and that's pretty cool. And the final piece of news that I'm going to cover today actually was announced right today, and it is GitHub Copilot X. So as I've talked about before, Copilot is sort of a coding based helper. Basically, when you code, it will give you smart autofill suggestions. It can write functions for you, it can write, basically complete the function that you're writing. And Copilot X basically does a few new things. One is a ChatGPT-like experience. So you can basically talk to ChatGPT in the IDE that you use and debug your code or ask it to create a better function. And this will be a little bit easier than just copying and pasting into ChatGPT. And I think this will be a very nice improvement. I think a lot of people have been building sort of extensions that does this right now, because it is definitely much easier to just highlight inside your code editor and just get information and ask ChatGPT, rather than copying and pasting and then copying and pasting the errors and then getting the fixed code and then copying and pasting it back. They also have Copilot for pull request. Basically, it can write AI powered tags, and I think it will probably be able to write better PR descriptions for you. And they also have AI generated information about documentation. Basically, if you have documentation, you can ask the AI sort of how to use certain things, and you don't have to look through the documentation yourself. And that's pretty cool, because a lot of times documentation actually is really bad and it's hard to figure out things. So this would be very helpful, especially with people who are picking up different new repositories and new code. It'd be very easy for you to right away ask questions and get information right away. So yeah, that's finally, there's also Copilot for the command line, and basically it can compose commands and loops for your command line, and to be able to run things much easier. So there's a lot of improvements to Copilot, and I've signed up for every single one of these wait lists, and hopefully I get into some of these, and maybe I'll be able to report back with my experiences on these things. So yeah, that was a very, very filled week or 2 weeks of AI announcements. Everybody's shipping new things: Microsoft, Google, Anthropic, Runway, Adobe even, and Nvidia obviously, and GitHub. And I think it's been very cool to see all of these things come out, and that's why I wanted to talk a little bit, just an overview on everything that has happened in the past 2 weeks. And a lot of these things are waitlist, or you can use it right now. So I recommend you, if you're interested in any of these things, just go sign up for the waitlist or go use it right now, and and you can just try these things out. I think there's something for everyone, whether it's image generation or a chatbot or Copilot, which for programmers is very, very helpful. So yeah, hopefully you found this video helpful and informative, and you're able to go try out some of these things. If you did, press the like button and leave a comment below. What is something that you're most excited about from all of these things? And with that, I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye.